U.S. Republican candidate Donald Trump said he would not take part in another debate with Kamala Harris before the November 5th election, with polls indicating Harris had won Tuesday's ABC News presidential debate. Trump made that remark on his Truth Social site and again at a campaign stop in Arizona.
So because we've done 2 debates and because they were successful, there will be no third debate. As everyone saw 2 nights ago, we had a monumental victory over Comrade Kamala Harris in the presidential debate.
6 Republican donors and 3 Trump advisors who spoke to Reuters disagreed. They said they believed Harris had won because the former president struggled to stay on message. Senator Lindsey Graham, a prominent Trump ally, publicly told reporters it was a missed opportunity. At a rally soon after Trump's post went live, Harris said the candidates had a responsibility for a second face-off.
Could not be more important.
According to Nielsen data, an estimated 67 million people watched the debate. A majority of debate watchers said Harris outperformed Trump, according to a CNN flash poll released shortly afterward. And among voters who said they had heard at least something about Tuesday's debate, 53% said Harris won, while 24% said Trump won, according to a Thursday Reuters Ipsos poll. However, the poll found voters continue to favor Trump over Harris on the economy. Clifford Young, Ipsos president of U.S. Public Affairs, says he thinks there may not be much of a debate bump for Harris.
What we're finding right now is a lot of stability, right? We find at the national level that Harris is in the lead relative to Trump. But on those key fundamentals issues like the economy and inflation, Trump ultimately has the lead. At this point, we're at a stasis moment where at the national level she's in the lead, but things have not really changed all that much.
The poll also found 54% of registered voters thought one debate between Trump and Harris was enough, while 46% wanted a second.
Poland's foreign minister on Thursday joined calls to allow Ukraine to fire Western-supplied missiles deep into Russia, saying the West should, quote, lift restrictions on the use of long-range weapons. His comments came during a joint news conference in Warsaw with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who said he had extensive discussions with Ukrainian officials in Kyiv on Wednesday, but declined to say whether the U.S. was ready to approve such strikes.
What we learn from our Ukrainian partners will inform discussions that we'll be having with other allies and other partners in the days and weeks ahead as we work through and think through the coming months.
Ukraine has been pressing the U.S. and other Western allies to authorize long-range strikes that it says will help to counter Russia's relentless aerial attacks. Russia has warned that any decision to allow Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range Western missiles would deepen what it called the direct involvement of the U.S. and Europe in the war and would trigger a response from Moscow.
North Korea displayed images of the centrifuges that produce fuel for its nuclear bombs for the first time on Friday. In a state TV report, leader Kim Jong-un visited the uranium enrichment facility and called for a greater production of weapons-grade material to enhance the nation's nuclear arsenal. It's a rare look at a critical piece of the country's nuclear program, which is banned under multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions. The state media report did not make clear when the visit occurred, nor the facility's location. The report said Kim urged workers to produce more materials for tactical nuclear weapons, and saying the nuclear arsenal was important for self-defense against threats from the US and its allies. It also quoted Kim saying that anti-DPRK nuclear threats from the US imperialist-led vassal forces have crossed a red line. Hours later, South Korea's unification ministry condemned the North's reveal.
North Korea's illegal development of nuclear weapons is a clear violation of multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions and poses a serious threat to peace on the Korean Peninsula and the world. Under no circumstances will we or the international community ever accept North Korea's possession of nuclear weapons, and they must clearly recognize this.
Kim highlighted the need to grow centrifuge numbers to exponentially increase nuclear weapons production, which may indicate that North Korea's tactical nuclear designs rely primarily on uranium. This is significant as developing highly enriched uranium is generally less complex than plutonium. One study suggests North Korea may have produced enough fissile material for up to 90 nuclear warheads, though about 50 are believed to be assembled.
A closed-door court battle over Rupert Murdoch's media empire starting Monday could determine the future of Fox News and the Wall Street Journal. The 93-year-old is attempting to change the terms of the family's irrevocable trust to ensure his newspapers and television networks remain under the control of his eldest son and chosen heir, Lachlan Murdoch. That's according to the New York Times, which obtained a sealed court document detailing the succession drama. The court hearing isn't taking place in the media hubs of New York or London, but in Reno, Nevada. Elise Tyrell, an estate planning attorney in Nevada, thinks she knows why.
We do have the ability, fairly easy, to go into court and, for lack of a better way to say it, amend an irrevocable trust that by nature is not amendable.
The trust is the vehicle through which the elder Murdoch controls News Corp and Fox, with roughly a 40% stake in voting shares of each company. It currently transfers the voting shares upon his death to his 4 children, including James Murdoch, who has donated to progressive political groups and resigned in 2020 from the News Corp board, citing disagreements over editorial content. Lachlan Murdoch runs Fox and is the sole chair of News Corp, but 3 of the siblings could potentially outvote him, setting up a battle over the future of the companies. Rupert Murdoch's proposed amendment to the trust would block any interference by 3 of Lachlan's siblings, who are more politically moderate, the Times reported, citing a sealed court document. Another Nevada estate planning attorney tells Reuters the elder Murdoch will have to convince the court that the changes would not sacrifice the rights or discriminate against any of the parties that his trust was intended to protect. Spokespeople for the Murdochs declined to comment, did not respond to a request for comment, or could not be reached for comment.
Lilia Shulha has landed her dream job after years in what she described as boring, sedentary office work. Now she drives trucks with Ukraine's leading retailer, Fozzy Group. Ukraine has lost more than a quarter of its workforce since Russia's invasion in 2022, central bank data shows. And businesses are hiring more women in traditionally male-dominated roles. Childcare is in short supply though, and Shulha had to move back in with her parents for help with her 2 teenagers.
Yes, people are curious and shocked when they see me. They film me on their phones when I deliver or load my lorry. They take pictures of me, whether it's passers-by or others. They're all in shock. Soon there'll be more of us, and people won't be that shocked anymore. Soon, it won't be news anymore that women work in such professions. Then people will leave me alone.
Millions of people, mostly women and children, have fled abroad, and tens of thousands of men have been mobilized. Reuters spoke to representatives of 9 Ukrainian companies who found that staff shortages and a growing mismatch of skills were big challenges. In the agricultural southern region of Mykolaiv, women like Maria Korolenko are being trained as tractor drivers, as well as tram and truck drivers, coal miners, security guards and warehouse workers, companies say.
I understood how necessary it was for me to work, not only for me and not only for my family. Right now, unfortunately, the men are being taken away. More and more of them are being taken away, and it's so hard. Now we do all the work that the boys used to do. When the war is over, when we win, the guys will come back and give us holidays.
Businesses have raised wages and are hiring more retirees and teenagers. Vodafone has repackaged its youth program to bring more young people on board. Ilona Voloshina is head of training and development in Kiev.
Right now, we're feeling the shortfall even more. If we look at the numbers from last year, around 40% of our specialists have left our shops. So we're feeling the lack of the workforce in the market.
The government and foreign partners have launched several programs to help Ukrainians reskill. But analysts expect the jobs crisis to persist and warn it could endanger post-war recovery.
Louisiana residents were cleaning up on Thursday after Hurricane Francine tore through the area.
Francine arrives in the French Quarter.
The storm made landfall in southern Louisiana on Wednesday and has continued to barrel across the U.S. South, pounding the region with heavy rains and gusty winds. In Louisiana's St. Mary Parish, Dustin Wiggins was taking stock of the damage.
I figured I'd be fine. I was fine. The trailer wasn't.
He said his trailer survived Hurricanes Katrina and Andrew, but took a beating from Francine.
My next plans, I don't know. If I can even plug this hole at all, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Francine weakened from a Category 2 hurricane to a post-tropical cyclone about 90 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee, the U.S. National Hurricane Center said later on Thursday, packing maximum sustained winds of 25 miles per hour. Heavy rainfall and tornado threats will continue across portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle, the NHC added. The storm left more than 400,000 homes and businesses without power. Oil and gas producers said they were further curtailing output due to power issues. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry and President Joe Biden each declared a state of emergency in anticipation of the storm. That frees up emergency management resources and potential financial aid in the event of serious damage.
The whereabouts of China Evergrande's chairman has been publicly unknown for the last year. Now, two sources have exclusively told Reuters Hui Kai-yan has been moved to a special detention centre in Shenzhen. The 65-year-old has not been seen in public since he was taken away by Chinese authorities a year ago. Evergrande was at the centre of the country's property sector crisis and ordered into liquidation in January. Chinese regulators found its key unit had inflated earnings and committed securities fraud. Hui, who was once China's richest man, was fined $6.6 million in March and banned from the securities market for life. He is not known to have been formally charged with any crimes, and it's unclear how long he will remain in detention or whether he will be tried or set free. Chinese authorities have detained many former high-flying business executives. Some have remained in detention for years with little or no information about their fate. One source said Hui was initially under house surveillance in Beijing after his arrest. Another source added he was transferred to Shenzhen a few months ago to allow him to more easily communicate with top Evergrande executives. Chinese authorities did not respond to Reuters' requests for comment. Neither did Hengda Real Estate, Evergrande's main unit. The company has defaulted on most of its $300 billion liability since 2021. Its problems have been emblematic of China's property sector struggles that have dragged on economic growth.
Patients included 45 children and 52 adults with a range of diseases. I'll not go in the numbers, but ranging from blood diseases, cancer, cardiovascular disease, congenital anomalies, ear conditions, endocrine diseases, eye conditions, immunological disorders, liver disease, renal disease, skin conditions, and of course, trauma, a lot of traumas. We need a medical corridor to be restored, the traditional referral pathway from Gaza to East Jerusalem and West Bank to be restored as soon as possible. We need a referral pathway into Egypt and perhaps Jordan and of course other countries which are ready to receive Gazan patients. We still estimate that more than 10,000 Gazans need to be medical evacuators. Half of them probably the war-related, trauma-related injuries, and the other half the chronic patients.
The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization launched a seed distribution campaign on Wednesday in Sudan's Red Sea state. The initiative aims to help residents in Tobin and Shatta villages to combat food insecurity caused by the ongoing conflict and the effects of climate change. The FAO's regional office for the Near East and North Africa will target farmers, fishermen and shepherds in different localities of the Red Sea state. The project, worth $2 million, runs from September 2025 for 18 months with the support of FAO and the Chinese government. More than 16 months of war between the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces have inflicted massive damage on infrastructure. It has forced more than 10 million people from their homes and left half the population facing crisis levels of hunger. Last month, experts determined that famine was ongoing in one area in Darfur and that there was a risk of famine in 13 other areas. In August, floods also swept through the country, bringing cholera for the second year running. About 1,351 cases were reported as of Wednesday.
Gaza's economy has shrunk to less than a sixth of its size when the Israel-Hamas war began nearly a year ago, according to a UN report released Thursday. The report also found that unemployment has nearly tripled in the occupied West Bank.
The Palestinian economy is in free fall.
Pedro Manuel Moreno is the Deputy Secretary General for the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, which authored the report.
Gaza's GDP has dropped by an alarming 81% in the last quarter of 2023 alone. This has led to a 22% contraction in GDP for the entire year. In Gaza, 2/3 of pre-war jobs, approximately 200,000, were lost by January 2024. In the West Bank, unemployment has risen from 12.9% before the conflict to a staggering 32%.
The UN trade body said the Palestinian Authority, or PA, is under immense pressure that is jeopardizing its ability to function. The PA exercises limited self-rule in the West Bank. Declining international aid and revenue deductions and withholdings by Israel are also adding to the strain on the Palestinians, the report said. Israel also routinely deducts so-called martyr payments paid by the PA to families of militants and civilians killed by Israeli forces. Israel accuses the Palestinian Authority of supporting the October 7th attack on Israel. The PA denies promoting violence.
The report calls for the international community to halt this economic freefall, address the humanitarian crisis, and lay the groundwork for lasting peace and development.
Several days after floods hit Nigeria's northeastern city of Maiduguri, emergency responders are battling to reach trapped survivors. Anguished families have also launched their own searches. Aisha Mohammed was rescued by soldiers, but says that in all the chaos, she became separated from her 8-year-old son. We are still searching, she says, adding that she's not seen or heard from her boy in 3 days. The floods began when a dam overflowed due to heavy rains, washing away homes. This camp used to house those displaced by militant group Boko Haram. Now it has been reopened for thousands of residents who are fleeing the floods. Some people here, like Kubura Mohammed, are yet to get a tent for shelter, but she's more worried about the fate of her husband. He had stayed behind, she said, saying that he would wait to see God's will. The flooding has affected up to 1 million people, according to the state governor. It is the worst flooding to hit Borno State in 2 decades. Authorities are yet to release casualty figures.